Welcome to the Scoreboard, everybody. I'm CONRAD IACOBELLIS.
And I'm Ryan KOSTECKA. Thanks for joining us.
Coming up on today's show of the Scoreboard, we're going to kind of give you a review of where teams are standing right now in the season. We're going to be covering baseball, boys lacrosse, girls lacrosse, softball. And then in the middle of the show, we're going to be talking Wasatch and Park City soccer. The Wasps traveled up to Dozier Field to take on the Miners on Saturday. And then last but not least, we're going to be talking girls golf.
I mean, we got a full slate of action for today. I mean, it's going to be a great show. Park City Wasatch soccer, two of the top teams in the state going head-to-head. Park City girls golf, they're finally able to golf up here in the mountains.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting talking about golf because it's going to be a huge discussion on the weather, but we'll get into that later in the show. Let's kick off, Ryan, talking about where teams are right now in rankings and what they've been up to. Let's start with baseball. We're going to be talking Park City baseball. They just went 1-1 against Payson, two-game split. They moved to 7-12 on the season, 1-7 in league. I think going 1-1 after losing the series against Wasatch is a big move for Park City. I'm sure Fiesler would have liked to go 2-0 versus Payson. Payson on the season is 8-11. So they're more towards Park City's rankings. You know, Park City, as I said, they're 7-12 right now, so just a little bit below. I believe the team below Payson. Would have been nice to pick up 2 games against Payson, but going 1-1, splitting that series has to feel good for Fiesler.
It really does. I mean, it was a huge victory for Park City. Just they've been on a losing streak. They are finally able to put together a complete game and get back in that win column. Granted, you know, Payson, lower end of things, but still, Park City got the victory. They'll take it. And now their second half schedule, it really lightens up a little bit. Their first half, absolutely brutal, playing all the top teams in the region. Now they're in the second half. They can afford to make a little bit of a run now. I really believe Park City has the ability to do so. They have the talent on all aspects of the field, but they finally got that first victory. Hopefully that gets them some good mojo moving forward, and maybe we start to see Park City kind of develop a little bit of a winning streak, a little bit of a winning mentality, and who knows from there on out.
Park City is no longer trying to look at being the top team in the region. I think they're trying to look into not have to do a play-in for the playoffs and try to build up that RPI. It's going to be interesting. They do start a 2-game series against Maple Mountain. Maple Mountain is 12-6 on the season. They're one of the top teams along with Salem Hills in the region. So Park City is really going to see how they're going to start to compare against the top dogs. Of course, depending on what happens in terms of RPI and in playoffs, they could be facing a team like Maple Mountain. So going up against a 12-6 team right now, I think Park City, maybe this is where they try to get over that hump.
It's huge. I mean, the Maple Mountain series is a very big one. If Park City can find a way to maybe steal a game, it'll give them so much more momentum and then just a better mentality if they do have to play in the playoffs against a team of Maple Mountain's character right away. They get that first victory. I really believe Park City can turn the tables a little bit, but after Maple Mountain, the schedule does loosen up a little. I think that'll be huge for the Miners. Hopefully climb the RPI ranks, stay out of that playing game. I know that's what Fiesler talked about with us. Really wants to stay away from that. If that can happen, Park City might be able to make a run at things, and not at a region championship. That's completely out of the question. But maybe 1-2 wins in the playoffs, continue building this program, and continue rising up the ranks.
Let's talk Wasatch real quick. They just went 1-1 against Maple Mountain, so a big series for Wasatch, you know, going up against that 12-6 team. Wasatch has momentum right now. They're a little scary. They moved to 8-8 overall, so they're at an even 500, and they are 5-3 in league, and they start a 2-game series against Payson, so Park City and Wasatch kind of flip-flop their schedules right now. Wasatch is 4th in 5A Region 8. Park City is 8th, but Wasatch going 1-1 against a very good team in Maple Mountain. Wasatch is starting to look pretty scary. They're starting to get it together, which is something Coach Baird wanted to talk about with us. Looks like Baird, whatever he said to that team, has got them going.
I mean, I'm standing to argue Wasatch is the best 8-8 team in the, probably in the state. Wasatch is a team that can beat anyone. They have the ability. I mean, from starting pitching, their clutch hitting, their never say die attitude, Wasatch can really do this. I think getting that victory against Maple Mountain, a very good team in its own right, is a huge mental boost for them. I believe the Wasps really can, maybe start to turn things around a little bit more in the sense that they're not always going to be playing from behind. That's what Barrett said he was worried about. At some point, your luck does run out when you're always playing from behind. But I think Wasatch is starting to kind of maybe, hey, we can score in the early games. We can, maybe let things up, slow things down a little bit. Really don't get ahead of themselves and really find out what they're capable of. I really believe Wasatch will be able to do that. But that victory at Mountain is huge. Can they capitalize now against Payson?
We'll see if they can. Let's move on to boys lacrosse. Park City boys lacrosse is on a 6-game win streak. They are starting to play quote-unquote Park City lacrosse. They are 9-2 overall in the season, 5-0 in region. Number 8 in Utah, number 4 in 5A, and number 178 in national, having the 6-game win streak. Given it is against some newer programs, but having a 6-game win streak, I think is where Persky expects them to be.
Park City is doing what Park City is supposed to be doing. They are beating all of the, the new programs, you could say, and then they got that one really big win early in the season against Davis. I think that's when we started to see things turn around. Persky talked about how he was not happy after that loss earlier in the year. Park City is now starting to find their groove a little bit. They're becoming more of a team. They're listening to their coach. They're really developing their plays, and their fundamentals are really strong right now. But they're running a lot more set plays. They're doing what Park City lacrosse is supposed to do. Moving forward now, can they keep it up?
Well, they'll have a tough dog coming up. Wasatch is 8-4 for boys lacrosse overall. They are 5-0 in region. Number 19 in Utah, number 8 in 5A, and number 354 nationally. Well, Wasatch is number 2 in Region 5A, or Region 8 in 5A. Park City is number 1, and Park City and Wasatch are going to be playing against each other this Friday night. I mean, it's a big game. It's a big game for Park City. It's a big game for Wasatch. I think this is some of the best competition Park City has played, maybe since, especially since Davis, but maybe since that Corner Canyon game, which was so long ago, it feels like at this point. But this is really going to see if Park City is the top dog, not only in Region 8 and 5A, but in crosstown rivalry.
Can Park City really establish themselves in that match? That's going to be the biggest takeaway from this. If Park City can find a way to establish who they are, their identity, use their athleticism to really set up their plays, use their physicality to overpower Wasatch, and get the job done in the first half. Don't make it close. Park City should, in all honesty, just based on records and what we've seen so far, should end this match in the first half. If Park City can do that, they will be legitimate threats to challenge Corner Canyon. If they let Wasatch hang around, anything can happen in a rivalry game, as we know.
Unfortunately, we are running out of time, so a quick rundown. Girls lacrosse, Park City girls, 10-0, number 1 back in Utah because Payson did end up, or Olympus did end up losing, so Park City girls taking that number 1 spot. Wasatch is 8-1. Park City faces Wasatch for girls in lacrosse this Friday night, so Park City and Wasatch boys and girls lacrosse facing each other. For softball, Park City 4-17 on the season, picking up some wins in a weekend tournament, beating North Summit. Wasatch is 9-7. South Summit, we're not forgetting about you because you are 18-1-1, and you are being just a juggernaut in your region. So good on you, South Summit. So overall, sports are looking very good here in the springtime, and you should definitely try to get out and enjoy some of the spring sports before they get into playoffs. We're going to take a break here on the scoreboard, but when we come back, we're going to be talking Wasatch and Park City soccer. Welcome back to the Scoreboard, everybody. I'm CONRAD IACOBELLIS.
I'm Ryan KOSTECKA. Thanks for joining us.
We're going to be talking Wasatch versus Park City boys soccer. This game took place this past Saturday, and I know this was a game both teams were circling, especially after the first game where Wasatch did end up beating the Miners 4-3 down in Heber. This time it's up in Park City. And, well, the Wasps were able to pick up a victory 1-0, or winning 1-0, I should say, against the Miners. This game was, as expected for a rivalry game, it was chippy. But overall, I think it was kind of a down game for both teams. Both teams didn't look as sharp, particularly on the offensive side. A 1-0 game for Park City and Wasatch is a little surprising considering Wasatch is averaging about 3.2 goals per game. Park City just under that 3 mark at 2.9 goals per game.
I mean, it's like you said earlier, it's a rivalry game. Emotions tend to play a huge part in rivalry games, and both teams let their emotions get the better of them. Neither one was able to really find a full rhythm in the game, and I really thought that it was, it wasn't the most well-played soccer, but it was in the sense that neither team was willing to give in. Both teams fought very, very hard. I do think, though, that the better team prevailed.
Yeah, this game was interesting. Last game, Wasatch had a lot of yellow cards. Park City had a couple of yellow cards. More so this side, Wasatch had more yellow cards in terms, so it looks like Park City cleaned up their play just a little bit. But we can't go without saying Park City is on a 4-game losing streak. Park City Minor Soccer, they are struggling right now. They are 5-5 in region. They are 7-5 overall, and they are number 5 in Region 8. Since losing that first game against Wasatch, they have been on a 4-game losing streak. I mean, this was a game I feel like maybe deflated Park City a little bit, and I hope they can pick it up because, again, they were number 2 in the region. They are now number 5 in the region. This was a game I thought Park City could have won, but ultimately it just looks like Park City doesn't have the offensive capabilities to stand up against teams like Wasatch in the region. They don't have that playmaker. They don't have that one person who can put the ball, quote unquote, in their hands, I should say, on their feet, and really drive to the net and make a play. They were kind of waiting around for something to happen, and it never really did.
I mean, if you're watching the highlights as we are right now, Wasatch controlled the game. They controlled the pace. They controlled the tempo. They controlled possession. Yes, it wasn't very clean, but Wasatch was never in a rush. They never really hurried about anything. It was really impressive to see. As you said for Park City needs that one guy who's going to step up and who's going to make a difference. And right now the Miners are really struggling with that. If they can get one guy to kind of, take on the shoulder or be a constant threat offensively, I really think it'll open things up for the Miners. But for right now, they just don't quite seem there yet. By Wasatch, on the other hand, I mean, yes, it wasn't a very good play. It wasn't well played for the Wasps. They are typically a much stronger team, a much better team. But at the end of the day, they got a victory over their hated rival, and that's really all that matters. They're still the number 1 team in 5A. They're still the team to beat in 5A. For Park City, it's been a really kind of rough fall. They were the number 2 team in the state when the RPI rankings were first released. They're number 13 now. The Miners got to find a way to turn this around and turn it around quick.
Wasatch is 9-1 in region. They are 11-1 overall, and as Ryan said, they're number 1 in the region. For Wasatch, I felt like they could have actually won this game 4-0 and 5-0. There was plenty of times where Wasatch had the ball down in Park City's end of the field on their net and just didn't execute. Park City really didn't have those opportunities. They really didn't get the ball off into Wasatch's side a lot. They did, I will say, they were more aggressive early on in the game, and I could tell that Gilmore is trying to implement new things. They are dealing with some injuries to their senior class, so they're having to bring up, I believe they actually had to bring up a kid from JV to play on varsity to fill the roster, but Park City was lucky to not lose this game 4-0, 5-0. And on the flip side, Wasatch is probably kicking themselves for not winning this game 4-0, 5-0. When they had those opportunities, they were just missing shots, which is kind of uncharacteristic of Wasatch.
It's very interesting you say that because it's very true. Wasatch may came away with a 1-0 victory, but at the end of the match, Park City's got to be kind of pleased that, hey, it was only 1-0. It easily could have been much worse than that. Park City can, tip their cap to their defense. A very strong defensive effort, led by Josh Bankiewicz for Park City. On the flip side, Wasatch should have absolutely dominated. They should have had a lot more score, a lot more goals, but they couldn't find a way to put in the net. As the season goes on, as the postseason comes, Wasatch is going to need to find a way to rectify that. They have to find a way to put the ball in the net consistently. I mean, if you see right there, Wasatch is just dominating possession. They're playing very, very well, but that ball's got to find a way for the net. As for Park City, they've got to find a way to score. If they can start scoring just maybe even an early goal in the first half, give themselves some positive, mindset, give them some mojo, it could be different, but Park City is still just struggling in that aspect.
And we could see, Park City had opportunities, right there. The ball just got a little bit far away enough from them so the Wasatch goalie could pick it up. And that's kind of what has been happening with Park City. They're just missing on execution. And Ryan, I'm curious to get your opinion on this because we've seen both teams practice. They kind of go about practice in a different way. Wasatch seems to be a little bit more free and fun and flowing. And when we were actually covering track and field last week, Park City Soccer was practicing when we were covering track, and Gilmore had them out running drills. He had them actually out practicing shooting in front of the net and trying to get those corner kicks to be executed in front of the net. Even in practice, they were struggling shooting from 10, 15 feet away from the net. Do you think that maybe that more loosey-goosey approach for Wasatch is what's making them 11-1 on the season?
It's a combination. I think I like that loosey-goosey approach, as you said, but also if you watch it, Wasatch practices, they're still very, very competitive. I mean, they're free-flowing the fact that they're having fun, but they don't want to lose. With Wasatch, there's just kind of this innate competitiveness within the program, I would say. And it's really interesting to watch where they had an incident where there were 4 goals, 4 balls out, and 4 different teams. And they're all playing against each other. Just, always stroking that competitive fire, getting it happening, but the players are laughing, they're enjoying themselves, they're having a good time. I think it was great to see. Park City, on the other hand, though, they are struggling a little bit in practice. I think Gilmore is really trying to hammer down and really let them know, hey, we got to do this. This is where we really need to be. As we saw with that shooting drill, they struggled a little bit, and there was no defender there. It was just one-on-one with the goalie. Park City struggled. That's not what you want to see from a team hoping to rise the rankings.
I think Gilmore is a coach who can bring this Park City team back up into the standings. I think there's some extraneous circumstances happening with Park City Miners right now in terms of injuries, and maybe they're just too in their heads right now, but I do believe that Gilmore can get them going. The kids love Gilmore, which is good. They've cut down a lot on that interpersonal fighting that we saw earlier with this team. At this game, they were picking each other up. They were looking at Gilmore to kind of have that foundation for them, that anchor. But I would challenge Park City to get that on the field and not just have that on your sideline.
I agree. I mean, Park City's a lot closer than they think they are. It's that simple. Park City's got a chance to really rectify things and move things forward and make a run at this late in the season. Wasatch is clearly on that path, so it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out in the end.
So that was a look at this past Saturday's game between Wasatch and Park City. Of course, Wasatch picking up the win in soccer 1-0. Wasatch winning that rivalry 2-0 for this year. We have to take another break here on the scoreboard, but when we come back, we're going to be talking golf. Welcome back to the scoreboard, everybody. I'm CONRAD IACOBELLIS.
I'm Ryan KOSTECKA. Thanks for joining us.
I think for the first time, Ryan, we are going to be talking golf, and this has not been because we've been pushing it away. It's because the weather has been pushing golf away to like Utah County or to Salt Lake Valley. But finally, we were able to go down to Midway and check out high school girls golf.
I mean, the first thing was, it was a beautiful day. I mean, we could have been in shorts, flip-flops, and a tank top and enjoying ourselves out there. But, unfortunately, we had to work, so it was a little more professional. It was just great to see, though. It was great to see all the athletes out there competing and playing. It was great to talk with Coach Murphy of, Park City Golf. Really enjoyed talking with him. Park City, it's hard to say. They haven't been able to practice as much as they want to with the weather. If they do, they got to go all the way down into the valley to practice. So with the weather finally being nice here, Park City was able to do a little better, and they were able to finally play on, not necessarily their home course, but a course they're pretty familiar with. And it showed. The front 9 scores were all very good. They played that on Monday. Back 9, Park City's got a little work to do.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of this conversation during this segment is going to be on weather. As I'm sure everybody knows, the weather has been not very cooperative for springtime in Park City. It's been cold, it's been snowy, it's been rainy, it's been very windy, which has caused the girls to have to kind of push back. And as you heard from Coach Murphy later on in this segment, they really haven't been able to practice, let alone play. I mean, they start late February in Park City, which good luck getting out on a golf course in February in Park City. So with all that being said, Park City did actually come out in this tournament and play pretty well. I mean, they're looking up at Springville in terms of, top dog. But Murphy, because we were sitting and kind of chit-chatting with him with some of the girls, they were pretty happy with how they shot, Ryan.
They were. I mean, Springville entered this tournament, the top dog in Region A. Park City not only took that away from them after this tournament, they absolutely, were phenomenal. They were great on the course. They were really good throughout the front 9, like I mentioned earlier. They played that earlier, and so there was that familiarity. The one thing Coach Murphy said he was really proud of his team was their short game. Obviously, as anyone who's familiar with golf, if it's bad weather, your short game is the most important aspect of the game, and it's something that's going to falter if you can't do it a lot. But Park City did a really good job of adjusting to the greens. Obviously, with all the weather we've been having, the greens down in Midway were very slow. They were soft, they were slow. Park City did a very good job of being aggressive and attacking. As you see in some of the highlights, they really pushed the tempo a little bit as far as their swings go, got very aggressive with their approaches, and it seemed to work out for them in the end. But there's still a lot of work left to be done for Murphy.
I think a lot of the girls, and this wasn't just even Park City, Wasatch was out there, Payson was out there, Provo was out there. This was a regional match. I think once the girls got on the green, that's where the struggle game was, just because of how hard it was to read the green that day. I mean, as we're looking, this is on the 18th hole that we're checking out for these highlights. We were kind of staked there for the day. A lot of these girls were struggling with putting because of how difficult it was, and Murphy said, this is because of the weather and how it's been, and with not being familiar with courses, not being able to go out on courses, and weather does play a huge factor in outdoor sports, and specifically sports like baseball and golf, and so not being able to be familiar with courses. I believe that was the first time the girls were able to be on that course down in Midway. They were struggling a little bit, which kind of made the competition more even overall.
It really did. I mean, I believe, and Coach Murphy kind of agree with this, that Park City probably is the top dog in Region 8. They just haven't been able to get the practice that they've wanted to really develop those skills that they're really looking for. But I think that was really impressive is that Park City kind of stuck with their game plan. They were able to, figure out what they needed to do. They made the necessary adjustments, and I'm curious how that, happens moving forward.
So why don't we check out your interview with Coach Murphy that we caught up with him after the 18th hole to see how he feels about this season and with playoffs coming up.
Today I think we'll end up first today from the tournament for at least the first 4 teams that are finished. The other 4 will finish about an hour and a half behind us, but they took the number 1, 2, 3, and 4 teams out an hour earlier, and I think it went pretty well. We had, Josie, our number 1 player, shot 86, which was solid for today. They don't know this course very well. She's the only one that's played this course. The rest, we played 9 holes here yesterday, so the back 9 was new to them, and it kind of showed on their scorecard because they played pretty decent, a solid golf on the front side, but the back side was a lot tougher today.
So how would you rate, your states are coming up really soon. How would you rate the season's been for you, the ladies so far, and just are you kind of starting to maybe see the trajectory you want to be on?
Well, yes and no. I mean, from what we've had to deal with, it's just, and every team up north, the weather has been very, very cold and wet, and just having practice days to where we get out here and it's good weather and it's just few and far between. And this is the best day. I mean, we haven't had, it was cold today, but we have not had a decent tournament day to come out here and show actually what we can do and start stringing tournaments together to see like, hey, where do we stand? But I know, region or like 5A is really tough. We've got some teams that are really killing it in their regions, and we're probably after today, like I said, we might be up by a few strokes over Springville, but we've got some tough competition beyond the region.
So, talk about a lot of, for 5A, a lot of teams are down south. They've been able to, down the valley, they're not really hit with the weather as much. How much of a struggle has it been for you guys to really find that consistency, you could say? I guess kind of, if you look at the scores, we're up and down. We haven't really found that yet, and we're kind of running out of time. It's like every season, having spring season, and all sports deal with it, but especially for girls golf, we start at the end of February in Park City. That's ridiculous. We have practice. We might practice once in Park City next week. Before state, and that's it. And so for them to, like, they're hardcore. I mean, we go down to Salt Lake every day, or we come, once this opened up down here, we're down here, and it's it's tough on them to deal with like bad weather, poor weather. We've had a couple practices canceled down in Salt Lake while we were playing, just the rain, the wind, snow, but whatever it is, it makes it tough, but they work through it, and they're doing the best they can, and what really shows is just short game, just touch around the greens, feel, and just kind of fine-tuning that's been the biggest, the hardest obstacle to overcome, and we've got 2 weeks left to get that done.
So one quick caveat to Park City girls golfing also, their top player came into the season injured with an ankle injury during a skateboarding accident. So that just goes to show you how crazy Park City girls golf has been this season. For Ryan KOSTECKA, I've been IACOBELLIS. Everybody, make sure you check us out every Friday and every Tuesday for brand new episodes at 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. with reruns every Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m. and 12 p.m. That's going to do it for us. We hope you had a great time, and make sure you tune in Friday for a brand new episode. Until next time.